around a slightly more or just more powerful man. And they turn into a little lapdog.
This creator touched on two of the unwritten rules for my study on the unwritten rules of work for people from low-income backgrounds. Number one is schmoozing, and number two is understanding hierarchy and playing political games. I'm Dr. K, and I research the unwritten rules of work for people from low-income backgrounds, and my first study was a qualitative interviewing of Black and white women and men from low-income backgrounds as they moved up to a higher class background through employment. And when I share these unwritten rules, a lot of people talk about how much they suck, because they do, but the previous creator is absolutely right. Those are the rules in that system. Schmoozing is all about kissing ass to the people above you to get higher up, and it's very fake and inauthentic. This is very hard for people who are from working class backgrounds where you're not used to that indirect communication, you're not used to inauthentic individualism, and then there's knowledge of hierarchy and how to navigate that. And while people from working class backgrounds, there's clear hierarchy in blue collar, pink collar jobs, there aren't the same political games. There's not the same amount of indirect communication. There's different cultural norms on what's considered appropriate or not. I remember one of my research participants who was a white man telling me, when I worked construction, if I needed to ask the boss something, I just went into the room. But now I'm an academic, I have a Ph.D, and I have to schedule someone else and go through all this red tape, and it takes forever just to have access to the person who cuts my check. Now, it's interesting what the previous creator is talking about with that men might pretend to women that they're all big and bad and that they have this Western version of masculinity down pat, but then they kiss the asses of the men above them. That they call women gold diggers until they're around a man with more money than them. And I have 100% seen that in real life. But what's also interesting to me is in my study on the unwritten rules of work, men in both racial categories brought up more that they noticed the schmoozing as an unwritten rule. And that surprised us because we thought women would have to kiss more ass. But we looked in the literature, and there is research showing that women don't get the same benefits from networking that men do. They still don't move up as quickly, even if they do network. So maybe they're not schmoozing as much. Or maybe they just don't notice it because women are already expected to be deferential, and that grooming starts very early. But I do wonder now, after seeing that video, if maybe these men, working class men, were, since they were, in maybe men's restrooms or hanging out with other men at work, if they noticed more schmoozing when the ladies were gone or when there were fewer women present. There wasn't as clear of a gender difference with navigating hierarchy. We called this playing political games, but notice that Black women and men are very close in how much they brought this up. White women are almost 100% on this, and the group that didn't bring it up the most was white men, but it's still 65%, which is over half of them. The reason we theorized for this was that women and racial minorities do not receive as much mentoring as white men. That's been researched back for a while, so maybe they had a harder time learning how to navigate hierarchies and political games. But as the previous creator pointed out, since these systems are built for white men, then white men, even working class white men, might have been more accustomed to knowing to look up and how to navigate kissing all those asses above them, which might be stranger for people who are in a system that wasn't built for as much like them, even though there's a major class difference. I'm sure I was also tagged in this video because I've talked about how patriarchy, while all men benefit from patriarchy and it harms women more, there is more benefit to being a rich man in patriarchy. And I think the previous creator explained how that process works quite well, that men might want to project this Western masculine image that, they're assertive and dominating. But we actually know from research that when men feel very insecure and like they don't have control and the things that they feel entitled to in a patriarchy, the things that they hear they should be getting, like wealth, that is when they try to dominate the things they see as having less power than them. And those things are usually people, and they're usually the women in their lives, and particularly women of color around them.